Why don't we talk about WWE Saturday night's main event? Hey, on top of that, why don't we review it? Why don't we do that? WWE going back to Saturday nights on NBC, just like back in the day with its Saturday night NBC flagship show. I'm old enough to, of course I am. I'm always, this should come to the shock of no one. I am old enough to remember watching the Saturday night's main event myself. 1985, I believe, is when they started doing this. I would have been, I would have been 11 at that point. I recall like getting special permission to stay up late to watch the wrestling on Saturday night. And you know, the one thing that I found really cool when I was a kid and living in a market where WWE didn't come all that often, they'd come, but not all that often. What I thought was cool was that it gave me the opportunity, it gave us the opportunity to see some big time matches and to see some, you know, some actual wrestling matches, right? Because most of the time, stuff that you'd see on Superstars, Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings, wherever you may be, those matches were not, they weren't competitive matches. They were squashes. They were setting up the stars, setting up the feuds for the house shows, because the TV, right, as we all remember, the TV back in the day was just to serve ticket sales for local events. So if you wanted to see big time matches, you bought a show to go to your local arena to see it all go down. But this allowed us to get some actual big time matches on TV without having to buy a ticket, without having to go anywhere. And, you know, it was also an opportunity to see Hulk Hogan wrestle on TV, because Hogan never, ever, ever, ever wrestled on TV. Never. You never saw Hulk Hogan. The only time you saw Hulk Hogan, I was going to say you never see Hulk Hogan wrestle on TV. So let me finish that thought first. But you never saw him wrestle on TV. The only time you'd see, let me say that again, when Hulk Hogan would be on TV, like for Superstars, he would be there just to cut promos. He'd be there with Mean Gene, so you know, Mean Gening it up. And that would be that. But now we actually got to see Hogan. So these shows felt like a big deal, right? They felt like a big deal. They felt pivotal. When in reality, what they were closing up house show feuds. And, you know, Vince was like, well, you know, we've already made all our money off of this feud, you know, going around doing the house show circuit. Let's squeeze every ounce of juice we have out of this. And, you know, let's have this feud blow off or, you know, whatever on Saturday night's main event. That was essentially the setup. Of course, I didn't realize that when I was fucking 11 years old. Like, you know, like Jesus Christ, like give me a break here. I mean, I wasn't smartened up that quickly, but nonetheless, that was still a situation that's how it was all set up. But as a kid, you're watching this and you're like, this is so cool, and you know the production of it, and you know the music, the everything about it, the fireworks. It all felt different. It all felt like you were watching something that really was unique and that was can't miss. And most of the matches really do feel that way. And I had, you know, from back in the day, right? They may not be like these legendary all-timer matches, but you know, a Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff in a cage. I mean, that was pretty tremendous to be able to see as a kid. You had the Randy Savage, Bret Hart heel versus heel match. You know, I remember the Ricky Steamboat, Jake Roberts, Snake Pit match as well. Like, you know, all sorts of little like things close. The Mega Powers, of course, the Mega Powers coming together, and then of course later on, you know, exploding. Coming apart at the seams. You know, you have all these things that are stuck in your head as a kid. These are the things that you carry around. And I think that's what a lot of the nostalgia comes from. Like even to this day, you know, whenever I hear, you know, the opening to Obsession, even to this day, Like I still have the flashes of, the graphics of wrestlers in the Saturday Night Main Event, and then when it sort of leads off into the first few lines of the song, I'm still expecting to hear Vince McMahon and a crowd cheering behind them. That's the kind of stuff that this event taps into, right? That's what they were truly indeed going for. It was the nostalgia, and they made a lot of hints. They made a lot of hints and promised that they were going to go down that route, that it was going to look and feel. And for as much as I think they did it as much as they could in a modern setting, because you can't reproduce the exact same setup. You just can't. And fans don't react the same way as well. Like it's just completely different. But, the way they said it, no, huge video wall. God, that's refreshing. Like, let's be real. That's very refreshing. Coming through the audience, gated off, with very, 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 very narrow path to the ring, and I thought that was really tremendous. Like, I thought that actually was a lot, that was cool. How the fireworks went off and so on. I was like, okay, like this is a fun, very different, refreshing presentation. And I don't know if it pulled at my nostalgia, because here's the thing. It's like, as much as I have fond memories of, as much as I have fond memories about the Saturday Night's Main Event show when I was a kid, nostalgia is not what powers me necessarily today. I will remember things fondly, but I'm also very much the type of guy to say, well, sometimes it's just best to leave the memories alone. We don't have to revisit everything from back in the day. Sometimes it truly is better off that you just stay with that feeling instead of, trying to recapture that feeling, especially in pro wrestling, where nostalgia is prevalent. And not just prevalent among fans, but among workers themselves. Why do you think a lot of wrestlers, just can't retire? Because they want to hang on to that one bit of thing that they want to hang on to that feeling, whatever it is. Some will say it's the roar of the crowd. Some will say it's the camaraderie backstage, whatever, combination of both, or more, more things as well. Just a big amalgamation of all sorts of feelings coming together. But like when I see wrestlers who I really liked when I was younger, or, and I don't necessarily mean like 11, like years ago, that were really good and are overstaying their welcome because they're still trying to clasp on, they're trying to grab onto that last feeling, and they're still wrestling and they don't look good, and it's kind of embarrassing and it's making me feel bad. I get to a point where I'm like, you know what? Stop. I'm going to go back to your prime, and I'm going to watch matches from when you were truly on top of the world. And that's how I want to remember you, not necessarily what you are today. I might be going on a really, on a bit of a tangent here. It's not that far off a tangent, but it's still a tangent. But the point I'm trying to make is that the nostalgic aspect of Saturday Night's Main Event, while I don't think they did a terrible job at it, excuse me. I don't think they did a terrible job at it at all, considering how modern wrestling has to be presented these days to feel contemporary. I don't feel attached to it specifically. Like it's not something where that dug deep into me and was like, oh my God, it's coming back. They're bringing it back. Au contraire, I'm a little more on the defensive and going, wait, like, how deep is this going to go? How deep can they go? And whatever they try to do, it's not going to succeed. It's not going to hit the highs. It's just impossible. They can have, announcers wear red bow ties in homage to Gene Okerlund. They can have, Pat McAfee flip a pencil like Kurt Hennig used to do. They can do all the little things, right? But ultimately, it's all kind of like window dressing, and And, it's hints, it's winks. It's an era gone. It's a bygone era. We've passed that. We're ready to move on. So I might not be as upset as some other people are who experienced the era and said, man, they should have done this with the graphics. Man, they should have done that. I was sitting at home wondering, well, are they going to shoot this all in 4:3 and then give it the old CRT glow? Maybe, hey, go hard and give us some scan lines, right? Is that how far we were going to go? So at some point, they were pushing that it was going to be just like in the day so hard. I was like, are they really going to be bold and try something out with the visuals and really give it that vintage feel? But no, they didn't. And honestly, why would they? There's no point to it. There's really no point to it except for that rush of dopamine. Because ultimately, you know what matters? Here's the thing. You know what ultimately matters? It's the wrestling. It's ultimately how, no matter how you present it, no matter how much lipstick you put on your pig, it'll all depend on the performance of the pig. And I don't want to give the impression that I hated the show, because au contraire, I enjoyed it for what it was. It's, not my favorite wrestling show of the year, but it's definitely one of the WWE shows that I feel most positive about for multiple reasons. And it's not necessarily because of nostalgia. Okay, let's finish up with the nostalgia point before doing anything else. I enjoyed it. I like the little winks. I like the little callbacks. I don't think they were I don't think they were overdone. I really enjoyed, the presentation with the back, with the audience in the background, when they set that up and had Jesse Ventura come in with the new guy. I can never remember the new guy, the new Raw guy, Tessiori, whatever. I can never remember his name. I apologize. I'm deeply sorry. I don't watch Raw, and he never calls the pay-per-views, so I don't know who he is. I don't remember his name, but I thought he did a good job. I think I actually thought he had a voice that was very reminiscent of the time, his delivery, his just the tone of his voice was very good. Ventura was there as well, and so I'm like, okay, I like these little callbacks, and I like this set. I'm appreciative that they didn't do the video wall. Don't get me wrong. I think the video wall is stupid, and I don't like the video wall, and I really don't. I think it's kind of dumb. I think it's kind of lazy. It might be super spectacular, but it's kind of lazy. Doesn't add anything. It's just, it's soulless. It's just, because as I've often said, if the video wall wasn't just to project your high octane PowerPoint presentation of, wrestler name and, and some, motion, some motion design and sparkles or whatever, then I'd be like, all right, that's fine. If it was anything else than that would be more interesting. Give me some some footage, some dynamic use of it, but it's just very, very simple, very contrived. It's not, it's not cool. So, them using not using the video wall, actually, I thought was really cool. The fireworks and all. It felt good. It felt like I was about to watch a good wrestling show, and that was fun. And again, I'm not enraptured. I wasn't overtaken by nostalgia. Look, I don't know. I think I'm a guy who just is, I move on from things, right? I just move on. I will have a soft spot in my heart for a lot of things that were very formative for me throughout the years. WWF, and especially that type of presentation. Star Wars, that was a huge impact when I was a kid. Transformers is the same thing. Then, a little later on, different types of music and bands and, these films where you're like, okay. And you remember these movies and you keep them in your, these movies, all these pieces of entertainment, of art, you just hang on to them. They stay impregnated in you. Not impregnated. They stay imprinted in your brain, and in your heart. So you recall them fondly, but I don't have to go back and revisit them. I don't have to relive them. That moment has passed, and you'll never catch that lightning in a bottle again. It's kind of like that old expression where, you try to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Anyone who was, if anyone was watching Saturday Night's Main Event 2024, December 2024, to sort of relive the nostalgia, to relive the moment, and we're disappointed. And I was like, well, that's an incredible burden that you're putting on WWE. Now, are they the architects of their own misery in this circumstance? Yes, absolutely. Towards fans who were unhappy. Yeah. They absolutely brought it on themselves. But that's also what pro wrestling is. And quite frankly, I prefer WWE go back to revisit its history as opposed to trying to just like always squirrel it away and forget about it. I see a guy like Tito Santana there and I think, wow, that's tremendous, right? I see a guy like Tito Santana there, and Tito Santana was a big babyface when I was a kid. He was the Intercontinental Champion for a long time, and you sort of like Tito Santana. Everyone liked Tito Santana, but the modern day kid watching this guy has no idea who it is. You want to pluck onto some nostalgia. You want to do something great. You pull up Tito Santana. You say he's in the audience, and you have him stand and wave, and then for a 10-second, 15-second break or whatever, you just show some footage, some big time highlights. You have him, holding the IC title back in the day. You have him slamming guys. Who cares? Just do something. Same thing with Jimmy Hart. Have him running around the ring. Show the spot where he loses his pants and he's running around in his red underwear. It's like, do that stuff. Remind us who these people are. Like Greg Valentine. I'm sorry to say, Coco Beware, Coco Ware. Tremendous pro wrestler. But what 20-year-old watching WWE today knows who Coco Beware is, or Greg the Hammer Valentine? It's like, oh, old dudes. Yeah, bud. Maybe what WWE wants to do is not put too much emphasis on all these people who were there before, building all of this up, because deep down inside, WWE knows that a lot of these people wrestling there, that a lot of these people who paved the way for Vince to, go national at first and then exert his dominance, so on and so forth, were, overworked. You don't want to use the term exploited too loosely, but as opposed to the people making money today, just like Ventura when he sat down in the booth to call the main event with Cole and McAfee, pointed it out and said, look at you guys with your cushy jobs here making all this money. Thanks to who, brother? It's not exactly what he said. But I'm lightly paraphrasing because he was not being subtle about it. He just didn't say it in those exact words. I feel like I'm already all over the place. I feel like I'm already jumping from spot to spot. But I think the nostalgia thing is important to speak on. And ultimately, those are my feelings. Like for me, I'm somewhat indifferent. I like the idea of the throwback. I like the idea of the presentation. I really liked the presentation of the show, but the nostalgia aspect isn't like getting me in the feels. It's not. It just didn't. And it won't ever again. Not in the same way. Not when back in the day I'm 12 years old, and you hear the words, Saturday Night Live will not be presented tonight in order to bring you this special presentation from the World Wrestling Federation, right? Or something to that effect. And you hear those words, you go, yes. You try to stay awake the whole way through. And your mom pops in at about, midnight. Your show's not done yet? No. It's not done yet, ma. Go away. That's the kind of, see, you can't reproduce that. You can't make it up. And even for kids today, even for, like, let's say you're a young little lad today. You're in that age bracket that Warren Hayes was back in 85, right? You're 11, you're 12 years old, you're 10. Part of the appeal of watching SNME was being able to stay up at 11:30. Just like, no, is this Christmas Eve kind of thing? It's Christmas Eve hours. You're not supposed to be up at this time, usually. Even if it is Saturday. Not at that age. Not even the kids get that rush. They're going to remember that. It's going to be like, oh, it was wrestling on NBC and it was pretty cool. Not like everything that went around it. That was a special feeling. Again, I'm not bemoaning it. And I'm not saying WWE should have absolutely done this. I'm just saying you can't recapture the feeling. And unless you really do a concerted effort to create that feeling for kids today, it's just going to be WWE presented differently. And I don't have a problem with that because I really liked it. The presentation, the show, show was fine. Why don't we talk? Can't find my mouse. Well, Campbell, why don't we talk business before we do anything else? This, of course, took place on December 14, 2024. I am recording this on the 15th, by the way, on the Sunday, at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum in Uniondale, New York. According to WrestleTix, the last update was from yesterday. This was practically they practically sold out the arena for the setup that they had made for the show. This is not the final count. This is the last update we got. 15,002 tickets distributed, according to WrestleTix. The setup was for 15,091. So yeah, I mean, another successful live gate. People were excited to see it. What do you want from me? I mean, that's what people were excited. WWE made it come across as a big deal. It felt like a big deal. Everyone was talking about it. The old heads were like, like I just did. We're all talking about how it, reminded them back in the day of such and such and so on, whatever. But it still was not a PLE, and it was not treated, as a PLE within the show because the matches are all relatively short. There wasn't one, the main event wasn't a 20-minute thing, 20, 25 minutes, which is usually where WWE main events sort of fall into these days. You usually have one like work rate type match that goes around the 15-minute mark. None of that. Matches were short. And I don't know if this is because, they had the time slot on NBC and they didn't want to go over it and wanted to make sure to get everything in and they didn't want to go overboard. I don't know what it was, but it kept everything all nice and tidy. We got the commercials in and so on and so forth. But this 5-match show was able to be sunk in to 2 hours. And 5 matches isn't typically what we get on the Paul Levesque PLEs that I enjoy so much. Look, I'm going to straight out tell you, I enjoyed this show more than most WWE PLEs this year. I'm not saying all, I'm saying most. I thought this was and I'll tell you why. Because they were able to keep the bullshit at the basest of minimums, the barest of minimums. Like, I don't even remember anything like bullshit wise that really annoyed me outside maybe some outside interference in a couple of matches. But, there was no, long interviews. There was no like interminable entrances. You get if you're watching WWE, there's things that you end up expecting. But this was a show that stuck to what it was supposed to do, provide pro wrestling, and that's what it did. I watched a 2-hour wrestling show, a 2-hour television wrestling show, and I didn't hate it. I thought it flew by. Hey, listen, I even watched it. Look, I watched it the next day. I watched it today. I didn't watch it live last night. I watched it today, so on demand on the Peacock. And here's the great thing. That meant I didn't watch a single commercial. So that 2-hour or so runtime was brought all the way down to a highly manageable 1 hour, 36 minutes. Like 90 minutes to go through the show. Sure. And nothing was overwrought. The matches never really had time to get into the territory where you're like, why is this still going kind of thing? Why are we still doing this? Or, or didn't have the time to have in-ring monologues because you had to hit your times. Yeah. Like this felt well put together, some good wrestling overall. Like, if I want to paint a paintbrush, fine wrestling and some good wrestling and some fine wrestling, but nothing that stunk. Like nothing where you're like, I'm losing my time here. I didn't have time to get bored. And it kind of goes to what I typically say, or at least what I've been saying a couple of times recently. And it sort of goes with what I sometimes say is that if WWE ever figures out that they can do the sports entertainment, but also in a way that provides a good pro wrestling experience, they're going to be unstoppable. Like some would argue they already are unstoppable, but then that's a way to drag people back into the fold like me. I'm not saying that's all they need to do. Like that's the only thing, but no bullshit, just entrances, wrestling, and then you hit the bricks. Clean finishes on top of that. Not every match again, but you get your clean finishes and you're like, oh, hot damn. All right, this is good. Like lots of good stuff. If they ever figure out that all they need to do to be different and to reclaim everything so that no one needs to go seek wrestling anywhere else is to actually provide a pro wrestling show. There'll be no need for anything else. I'm on Cage Match right now, by the way. And it would appear as though the inmates did not enjoy the Saturday night's main event. It's currently standing at a 5.85 rating, the show, out of 10, which I feel is kind of surprising. Which really means that, either the WWE universe didn't show up to rate this match on Cage Match, or they did and they all sort of shrugged their shoulders. They probably didn't because there's only 86 people who voted. So probably the WWE universe didn't turn up like they do for like NXT, and then next thing you know, you have an Ethan Page match, which is ranked at one of the top 10 matches of all time or whatever. I'm a little surprised. I'm surprised at some of the ratings here. I'm surprised at how different my vibes about a lot of these matches are in comparison to the ratings as well. But I feel good about my ratings. I feel good about them. I feel good about how I feel about the show. And I am going to be saying things during this review that might shock and surprise you. That might shock and surprise you. Should have said this from the start. Should have said this at the start of the review. Stay tuned. Listen to the entire of the review because there will be things said that may shock and surprise you. Hell of a selling point instead of talking about nostalgia. Jesus Christ. What's wrong with me? So yeah, look, the show starts, you see the whole thing, you get the Obsession theme song, which that was a must-have, right? And then you see some footage from old Saturday Night main events. They didn't bring anything back from they didn't show anything from the revival of the mid 2000s, right? I just thought of that. So even in their own history, like they're proof again, like they're washing away some stuff that happened with the Saturday Night. We didn't see any John Cena or anything like that, right? I don't recall, right? And they had like I said, I had talked about the setup. They had the referees, right? The referees with the blue shirts and the bow ties, which I thought was also a nice touch. I liked Pat McAfee's line talking about Charles Robinson, saying that he has that shirt. He just had to pull that shirt out of his wardrobe, out of his closet, which I thought that was pretty funny. They started with having Jesse Ventura come out, and they did not have the noise meter out for that one. I'll tell you what, they didn't have the little noise meter show up. They have the red, white, and blue ropes too. Like I said, they're hitting all the notes. It's all a lot of window dressing, but this is what WWE excels at. This is what WWE excels at. Presentation, look and feel, the veneer. They're very good at the veneer. They know how, maybe the house isn't built as strongly or as competently as, somewhere as somewhere else, but the veneer is beautiful. Your house looks like $1 million, even if, it's not exactly the best craftsmanship that put it together, if you know what I'm talking about. And the first match that we got was Drew McIntyre defeating Sami Zayn. It starts before the bell because these guys they don't like each other. They're in a bit of a blood feud. Well, not a blood feud. They just don't like each other. And the story, for what I'm understanding, is that Drew is going after former members of the bloodline because he doesn't like them. And okay, it all comes back to the bloodline. It's fine. There was some fun stuff here. Springboard moonsault by Sami. Drew McIntyre throws Sami over the commentary table and then he gets in control. Spinebuster and a set-out powerbomb in the ring follow. Sunset flip bomb by Sami, who also lands a blue thunder bomb for a near fall. But McIntyre baits Zayn into a Claymore kick for the win. And the crowd was really into it. I thought it did this match a great service. You can tell both guys were into it. This was a 10-minute match that felt perfect, like a great pace, smartly executed by two very good pro wrestlers. Sami Zayn for a while was, Sami Zayn, there was a time in his career you could argue was one of the top 5 best wrestlers in the world. I mean, these are guys who know what they're doing. They knew what they had to do. They were the opener. Just went in and kicked some ass. And they kicked ass. I thought this was quite good. I gave it 3.25 stars. I thought this was a lot of fun. Good match. I don't have many notes for that one. Then we had the WWE Women's World Title match, where Liv Morgan successfully retained the championship by defeating Io Sky. I'm going to tell you, get your clipping machines ready. I was impressed by Liv Morgan in this match. I would even go as far as to say that this is my favorite Liv Morgan match ever. I thought this was good. This was good. And there's a lot of things in this match where I was like, okay, is it because, again, the mandate was get out there and work and you've only got 9 minutes to make it happen because this was about the duration of the match? Or is it because Liv had an exceptional dance partner in Io Shirai? Maybe. But either way, like, Liv was very good here. And she early on, she lands this great drop kick, like this great drop kick. I was like, damn, okay. Fluke. But no, No, it was not a fluke. Springboard moonsault by Io Shirai. She's doing a lot of springboards, Io, in this match. Dives to the floor, springboard missile drop kick. Code breaker by Liv Morgan, which was really good. There were 3 Germans, then followed up by Io Shirai. And yeah, and like I said, she's doing a lot of springboards, Io is, and she slips on one. And here's one of the reasons why I'm like, damn, okay. Like, Liv is selling. She's doing a very good job. Her offense looks good. And then Io slips off of a springboard, right? She goes for the springboard, but she slips off and lands on her feet. So what does Liv do? She runs right in and does a lung blower, which was probably the spot that she was supposed to do. Catch Io, out of the air into a lung blower. That's what I'm assuming. But Liv, defying all, usual expectations that you have watching WWE matches where everything is so, precise and this is what you do and follow the script of the match in the ring. She recuperated this wonderfully. I was like, okay, I was actually impressed. Now, you'll say, Warren, you were impressed, but you really don't like her usually. So, and I'm like, yeah, when the bar's in the dirt, but nonetheless, I'm watching this and I'm like, okay, Liv knows what she's doing here. Like it's this really all of that much of a dance partner situation where she's like, oh no, let me say that again. I cannot just throw this away as if she has this great dance partner and that's what's elevating her. Not when she's being this reactive and making sure that she connects on her offense and making sure that the flow of the match is not interrupted because someone flubs. That's, that's ring general shit. That's like smart. Now, are we going to keep seeing that? Is this like the turning point in Liv Morgan's career where she becomes like the super worker? I don't think so. I'm tempering my expectations nonetheless, but on this night, on this Saturday night's main event, damn, that was great. I was impressed. Oblivion for the win here. Oh God, and Liv eats she eats a skull cracking knee right to the face. I'm like, wait a second. Why are we what's going on here? Why are we stiffing each other? What's happening here? Did something happen? It's like Io's going around, kneeing Liv in the face like she owes her money. Jesus Christ. Super stiff knee. And so Liv at the end, blood spurting out of her nose. And I'm like, hell yeah, that's a battle scar. I can live with that. So I gave this 3.25 star. Well, I thought this was, nice little match. Fun. I enjoyed it. In and out. No complaints. They weren't supposed to go out there to have a 5-star match. They didn't. They had 9 minutes to get it done. Perfectly executed. After the match, as they're up going towards the exit, Rhea Ripley comes out to stare her down. Because that's the thing. And it's dopey and it's awkward. And that's where I'm like, oh, then it reminds me that I'm watching a WWE show. Then I'm like, oh, of course. You couldn't just have, because it's the angle is awkward. It just looks weird. And Rhea comes out and does her foot stomp. She just doesn't walk up to the woman. It's like, this is what I mean when I say WWE is so contrived, right? Like, and I say WWE, but it's the same thing with other promotions. Everyone comes, they come out to their music, they do their little presentation instead of just doing whatever they're supposed to do. If Rhea is pissed off at Liv and wants to challenge her, well, the music hits and she struts out and goes right up into Liv's face, right? That's what a normal human being would do. But no, like Liv comes out, and not Liv, but Rhea comes out and she lifts her arms and does the stomp on the music, like right on cue, and then does the little stare into the camera. Then she turns her attention to Liv. And I'm like, this is dumb. This is dumb. So, just a little reminder, it's like, Warren, don't get too excited. You're watching WWE right now. Don't forget. Thank you for reminding me. Gunther defeated Damian Priest and Finn Balor to retain the WWE Consolation Prize. There's still, look, I thought this was a fine wrestling match, but nothing else. There's nothing that stood out here. I actually thought it felt contrived. I felt like you could see the structure. I gotta tell you, and I mentioned this on the previous review. The last PLE I reviewed. What was it? I don't remember. It was the one, not the Saudi show. The one just last November, Survivor Series. God damn. God. Survivor Series, where Gunther is there, and they have him. They're still doing a crisis of confidence for Gunther, for Walter. If there is one guy who should not be having a crisis of confidence, it's Gunther. Like it's a dumb, weird angle. Gunther has lost it. He has lost his presence. He's not as interesting as he was. He's not coming across as a big deal. I was chatting with some people. They said, "Oh well, he lost his aura." And again, I'm using the word here just as shorthand because I'll repeat it again. I think the word aura is completely depleted of meaning and should not be used anymore. It doesn't mean anything because people now use it for just about anything. So it's meaningless. It's a meaningless word now. Thank you everyone for ruining a word. But it's gone now. His presence is gone. His aura, for lack of a better word, nonetheless, is gone, and he's just a guy now. He's just another guy on the roster. He's not. So So what the people I was chatting with, there was when he started getting skinny, when he lost the thickness, that's when Gunther lost his presence. I'm like, no, I thought I wasn't. It was shocking at first, but it didn't bother me too much. And the way he was booked while he was Intercontinental Champion was actually pretty good. I think he lost his mojo when he lost the IC title, because during his IC title run, he still had the presence. He was fearless, but also feared. He's struck fear in the hearts of his opponents and whatnot. A lot of fear. I guess the key word here is fear. Fear. I'm going to say the word one more time, fear, and we're going to move on. And then when he lost the IC title, it's just like, then he became another guy. He's just another guy. And you couldn't have more of a just another guy scenario as what they're having him do right here, where he's been rattled since losing to Cody Rhodes. The story should be, if he ever fights, the next time he fights Cody Rhodes, he'll be rattled. The better story, think about how better this story would be, just for a second, where Gunther is pissed off that he lost to Cody Rhodes in Saudi Arabia. Mad as hell, and all he's doing is destroying fools. And more violently than he ever had. But then everything circles back to Cody for whatever reason, and he has to fight Cody. Then Cody can get under his skin. Then Cody can sort of make him doubt himself, right? But in the meantime, Gunther is not unfazed. He's got something to prove, and he's plowing through the competition like a beast. And I know he's still winning his matches, but it's always under the specter of, he's having a crisis of confidence. That's not a fun story. Not for a heel. I think it could be an interesting story for a babyface, but not for a heel. I don't think that's interesting. And I don't think this match was interesting either. This was my first letdown match. Here's another thing. Okay, get your clip machines ready. Okay, get your clip machines ready. You ready for this? I told you there'd be things I'd be saying that would shock and amaze you, shock and surprise you, or whichever. I think this show peaked at the Liv Morgan Io Shirai match. Let me say that again, because I think I fucked up. I think this show peaked at the Liv Morgan Io Shirai match. How's that for a shocker? Did you clip that? Put it in a museum. Burn it on a DVD. Burn it on one of those golden discs and then shoot it off into space. Make sure the aliens from a distant galaxy are able to hear it. Anyway, there's a lot of back and forth in this match, and I feel like we've seen this match dozens of times before. It was fine, but I don't think there was any oomph to it. I don't see it with Damian Priest. I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's such a top guy. I don't see it. And Finn Balor, whatever magic he had has long been disappeared. Like, whatever pixie dust he had, he needs a refill fast. You know what I mean? Like, the moment this match started to cook was when Gunther pulled Damian Priest off of pinning Finn Balor, but pulled him off by the hair. I'm like, holy shit. And yanked him off by the hair and put him in a sleeper on the floor, then powerbombed him on the stairs. And I'm like, here we go. But no, that actually leads into the finish. I'm like, oh. But see, that's Gunther. That's it. Just violent and unnecessarily harsh. And usually how do people get pulled off of these pins? Grab the leg, grab the arm, elbow drop, axe hammer, axe handle, whatever. Here's he grabs him by the tuft of the hair and just yanks him away. And I'm like, whoa, all right, let's go. 2 3/4 stars. I didn't it didn't do anything for me, and I thought it wasn't very good. Chelsea Green defeated Michin to become the very first WWE United States Women's Champion. Women's United States Champion. Piper Niven, of course, is there with Chelsea Green. And she gets involved early. And there's Germans by Michin and a tornado DDT and a Rough Rider by Chelsea Green. Got a senton off the apron by Michin and a weak-ass eat defeat by Michin to the point where, Michael Cole has to, say, oh, she didn't get all of that. Or was it Pat McAfee? Anyway, commentary has to say that. Because, it's your fucking finisher. But, I don't think I thought this match, anyway, the match ends with the unpretty her that she did, flipping off a rope, and everyone lost their shit for them. I'm like, why are we losing our shit? She's Michin's in the corner, and so is Chelsea Green. And Green's on the turnbuckle, and she jumps off. She jumps off the turnbuckle, and then she's immediately in position because she sort of threaded through her arms, through Michin's arms, and she lands on her feet, and she's already in a position to do the unprettier, and she does it it was seamless. It was well done. But everyone are up on their feet and they're going, whoa! And I'm like, why? It's it's a nice little move, but I'm not losing my mind over it. I'm like, pretty good. So that's how Chelsea Green wins the Women's US Championship. Some people are excited for this for some reason. I don't know why. I don't think adding more mid-card titles makes things more exciting, but that's just me. Anyway, I thought this match was sloppy. That's what I wrote right here in my notes. SLOPPY. I thought the match was sloppy from both ladies, but particularly Michin. And Mia Yim. Look, I don't know. She barely wrestles anymore, right? So maybe she's just out of tune, out of practice. I don't know, but she hasn't been the tightest performer they have. She hasn't been the tightest performer in a long time. Chelsea Green has never been known for her exceptional work either. But this was not as bad as I was expecting. Definitely not as bad as as I thought it was going to be. But I think it was the worst match of the show. But wasn't even It's just sloppy, and it was short. What was it, like 8 minutes? You know, if they were trying to do 15 with this, I'd be, clawing my eyeballs out. It was all right. Too much interference too. With Piper Niven, and I'm like, and I'm groaning. I'm like, nah. I'll give it 2.5 stars. It was all right. The crowd, and this was a match that the crowd wasn't even all that into either. They really weren't all that into this match. You know what? I'm going to knock it down a level. 2.25 star. Come to think of it, we're doing 2.25 here. How about that? The more I think about it, the more I'm talking about it right here. I reserve all the rights to amend as I am doing the presentation, to change things around so that the pitch becomes much more compelling. I reserve the right. And then the main event, Cody Rhodes defeated Kevin Owens to retain the Universal Undisputed Championship, which again, as we like to point out here, is very disputed, because you have another world champion in your midst in the same company. So that's the very definition of disputed right there. I'm very disappointed in this match. I'm super disappointed. I was very excited for this match because I loved their match at Bash in Berlin earlier this year. I thought it was tremendous. I believe I even said that it's probably WWE's best singles match of the year. It was really good. So I was excited. And, on top of that, I was thinking about it, I was like, Kevin Owens is he's such a fan himself of all of these things, of all these historical nostalgic things for WWE, right? He's a lifelong WWE fan. He's realizing his dream. He fought his hero in Steve Austin at a WrestleMania. For him, things can't get much better. And now he's wrestling on a Saturday night's main event, which he probably had the same experiences as I did when he was a kid. So I was thinking, okay, here we go. We've got Cody, who's going to come out with the Eagle belt, and everyone's going to be whoa, and then Cody, not Cody, but Kevin, he's going to be like, this is Saturday night main event. Let's go. We're going to make this special. And it was not special. And again, it was very, very, it's a fine match. It was a good little match, but, mired with nonsense at the end and just nothing special. And I was very disappointed. I guess in my mind, the bar was very high for these two guys, but they didn't rise to the occasion. Maybe for whatever reason. I couldn't tell you why. I don't know why. I don't even want to speculate why. But yeah, look, Cody came out with the Big Eagle belt, and people lost their shit. Well, they lost their shit when they posted a little vignette. They did the Pulp Fiction thing on social media this week. Well, not the full Pulp Fiction thing, but opening a briefcase or a suitcase or whatever the fuck, and it's glowing from the inside. I'm like, Tarantino should get. I hope he gets some kind of kickback every time someone films someone doing that, opening some kind of briefcase or suitcase or purse or duffel bag or whatever, and then it's glowing from the inside. I hope he gets some kind of kickback because so people were excited about that, and Cody came out with the belt, and I gotta tell you, I'm not, there's only one belt that I really get hung up on in all of pro wrestling, and that's the IWGP World. No, it's the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, the one that they had before the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. That to me, that anyway, I'm not going to get into it, but that's the one that I'm really hung up on. Every other belt I don't have all that much of an issue with. It's okay. They're going to change the belts or whatever. And sometimes belt designs look goofy and sometimes they don't. I've never really been a fan of the current design for WWE World Championship belts. I don't like them. I think they're devoid of personality. They just look like big rings. I don't like them. I understand why I understand the design before you write in the comments and start telling me, well, Warren, it's because brand recognition. I know why they did it. But it doesn't look like a prize. It looks like something you can sell merchandise of. Oh, geez, you think, Warren? Yep. I figured it all out. I figured out the entire plan. Before you mentioned it, I am fully aware. So, the point what are you trying to get at, Warren? The belt looks like a prize. Like it looks good. They refitted the strap, of course. It's not, but the belt looked really good. Like it looked really, really good. It looks good around a championship waist, a champion's waist, a championship. It's a championship that looks good around the waist, is what I'm trying to say. And it makes the others look like toys in comparison. Like it just looks like, they just look like plastic. They just look like plastic PVC weird knockoff things. I don't know. Like it, I'm not sitting here clamoring for the Eagle belt to come back and be the permanent solution to move it. Like I don't care. I really don't care that much. But I can only sit here and provide an observation and a thought. And there's the observation and a thought. That championship looks like a prize. And I think ultimately it makes the other belts, the real universal, whatever the fuck, it looks kind of goofy now. And it makes them all look goofy by comparison. Anywho. I like this match for many reasons. I thought KO had a really good heel match here, stalling and using his, baiting Cody quite a few times and forcing Cody to aggravate the ankle that he's been attacking and, that he attacked and, so that he could have that to his advantage. But Cody fights back, does a cutter on the commentary table, the Cody cutter in the ring. Kevin Owens, probably with the big spot of the match, does an avalanche fireman's buster, which was tremendous. Then we have a ref bump. KO does the stunner and then has the visual pin, but there's no ref. And another ref comes in and then we get that ref bump. And then Cody Rhodes does a crossroads on top of a chair, which Kevin Owens had gone to get, but wasn't able to use it properly. So instead, Cody uses it. So he crossroads Kevin on the chair, covers, and the first ref now is back. 1, 2, 3. And there you have it. That's the win. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. This feud must continue, I guess. If they had been bold, right? Had they been bold, but this demands guts. This demands a pair of cojones. This demands, the biggest ones you have. Had they been bold on the return of Saturday night's main event on NBC Network, they would have had Kevin Owens pin Cody Rhodes and win the title. And then that's your story leading into the new year and up until, Royal Rumble. Just have Cody drop it back, gain it back at Royal Rumble. No harm, no foul. It's just a nice diversion in the meantime. And it makes sense. And, Kevin has been a tremendous soldier for this company. A nice little pat on the back, a nice little thank you. Here you go. We'll put you back into the conversation for a short while, but nonetheless. But that would have demanded guts. That would have demanded guts to do. Instead, we get double ref bumps and nonsense and something that just completely took me out of the match. I'm like, which reminded me once again that, of course, I'm watching WWE. So, yeah, I gave this 3 stars. Like, we're just going to go flat on it. 3 stars. Thank you. Fuck you. Good night kind of thing. It's like, I don't know. I think they worked too well for it to be a bad match, but the shenanigans and nonsense just completely took me out of the match. Whereas, like I said, during the course of the evening, we had some clean finishes. We had, Gunter won clean, or at least as clean as he can in these types of situations, right? But there was no interference. There was no, I know the match was no DQ, but there weren't like belt shots and foreign objects, still very clean. Liv Morgan won clean as a sheet. Drew McIntyre, clean as a sheet. Why not the main event? What? Why not the big match? You know? Anyway, that was, hey, one thing I forgot to mention. They brought back the ref cams, right? They had Charles Robinson and the lady ref, Jessica Carr, right? They had two guys, the two refs had the gimmick, right? Which never works. And whenever they do switch to it, it's like it's god awful. It's garbage. It's garbage every time. And they announce it on two different refs in two different matches, and I don't think they cut to the ref cam once in either of those matches, right? I don't think that. Look, I've said it. When they every time they pull it out, but this time for real, it's a gimmick. It doesn't work. You guys don't even cut to the camera. It's shit. Don't use it. Oh, you got the ref cam on, but no one cares. You don't even care about the ref cam. It's a shit idea and it doesn't work because the ref is not supposed to be there to make sure that people are in frame, or they're supposed to be there to count that, to do their job and observe and count. So that's not conducive to having some great shots. That's my final thought overall for Saturday night's main event, WWE December 2024. There's going to be another one in for the just before the Royal Rumble or something like that. I don't know if I'll cover it. I'll see how it goes. But I figured this would be special, and it kind of was. Like I said, I didn't hate the show. I didn't hate the show because of the structure, because I was put together. The wrestling wasn't terrible and nothing overstayed its welcome. I think the main event could have been a lot better, especially considering the two guys who were in there. I think it was a very average match, but I didn't hate the show. Can I recommend it to you? No, it's not. It's not a match. It's not a show I'd recommend. I don't recommend the show. Yeah, if you're really curious as to whether or not, if you're really curious, you want to see, well, let me see if Warren is right and this is truly one of Liv Morgan's best matches. We'll go ahead. I think it's her best. Maybe you have others. I think it's her best. You want to go see that, but there's nothing here that requires your attention. You could, if you want to see the setup, you want to see the presentation and see how it's all put together, well, you can watch the first 5 minutes. Maybe watch Drew versus Sammy. It's not a bad match, but it quickly becomes a WWE show under another veneer. And you're like, oh, right, I forgot. I was feeling this way. And now it's like, oh, yes, I remember now. This is a WWE show. That's just as simple as that, really. So yeah, we're gonna wrap it up on that note. Not a great show, not a bad show. Is it a good show? Well, we're close to, but there's a lot of elements in play. I don't know. Not recommended, but also not terrible. It's not a bad show. It's one of the WWE shows I enjoyed the most this year. How about that? How about that?